Good morning, friends.
Hi, Jeff.
So,
Good morning.
good morning. So, at our Medicine Buddha meditation on Saturday, I wanted to share with you an excerpt from In Love with the World. And as I went to find it in the text, it like disappeared. But I have since found it, and I wanted to share this short excerpt with you before we do our meditation this morning. Um, so, in the sutras, Buddha makes a comparison. He compares our experiences in our sleeping and dreaming world, the dream world that arises when we're sleeping. He identifies similarities between that experience and experiences that we have with our in our waking world. Some very strong similarities there, and those waters run pretty deep. There's not enough time to go into it in detail right now, but we will at some point, perhaps when we talk about the perfection of wisdom. Uh, but for now, what Yongey Mingyur writes in the text In Love with the World, he writes, the point is not to convince ourselves that we really can walk on water, like kind of what might similar to things that happen when we're sleeping and dreaming. We can do all sorts of miraculous things. Yongey Mingyur is saying the point is not to convince ourselves during our waking state that we really can walk on water, but to understand that the solidity we normally ascribe to our bodies is not real. I'm going to read that again. The point is not to convince ourselves that we really can walk on water, but to understand that the solidity we normally ascribe to our bodies is not real, and that bringing a more realistic perspective to who and what we are has lasting benefits. Acceptance of our own essential emptiness and the emptiness of all phenomena diminishes our impulses to hold tight to things that cannot really be held. So there's a lot there in those two or three sentences, but just the main takeaway from that reading, I hope, will be that through our meditation on the inner body, we can come to experience, not just understand conceptually, but experience directly firsthand the lack of solidity of our bodies. As we come to experience that lack of solidity, we will slowly, hopefully, transition to an appreciation of the emptiness of our bodies, and then hopefully an emptiness of ourselves. Remember, emptiness and nothingness, not the same thing. Emptiness meaning a lack of inherent intrinsic existence. The entity that we cling to so tightly, in this case, body, starts to become unfindable, and from that freedom comes. So just the point of all that is a reminder of why we spend so much time and attention on meditating on the inner body. So without further ado, why don't we do exactly that? Meditate on the inner body. Please go ahead and settle into a comfortable meditation posture using whichever method you find most effective. Please allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and rest, to become quiet and still. And when you're ready in your own time, please gently transition into meditation on the inner body. as you know, a traditional portal into meditation on the inner body is through the hands and the feet, becoming aware of sensations in your hands and your feet, a tingling, a lightness, perhaps a heaviness, perhaps a pulsation. Bringing your awareness to these so-called isolated parts of your body and other so-called isolated parts of your body, silently observing those sensations is a perfectly valid practice of meditation on the inner body. Another, perhaps even more valid meditation practice on the inner body is to observe one universal sensation within your body, from the crown of your head to the tips of your fingers, the soles of your feet, and everything in between. If you'd like, please feel free to gently practice, experiment with silently observing this one universal sensation. Or if you're more comfortable doing so, of course, please feel free to be the silent observer of sensations in different parts of your body. Now, very gently, very gently, please allow your consciousness to become less absorbed as you begin to arise from meditation. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation and Dharma talk to world peace. May all beings without exception be completely and permanently freed from all forms of emotional and physical suffering. May all beings without exception be happy, peaceful, contented, and free. And may we as individual practitioners make a most meaningful contribution to world peace by applying great effort and wisdom to deepening and making more universal our own hearts of loving kindness and compassion. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Oh, geez. Let me just see real quickly, you guys. I think my camera is circling the drain, I'm afraid. There we go. We'll see how long that holds out. Note to self, order a new camera after class. So we are just entering into our discussion of the perfection of concentration. And as I sometimes have a tendency to do on Friday's class, I tried to put 20 pounds of Dharma into a 10-pound bag. So we covered a lot of material, a lot of really important material, and I just want to revisit what we discussed last week, because it is so important, what we discussed on Friday. You remember that I read from When You Greet Me, I Bow by Norman Fisher, venerable Zen teacher living and practicing in the Bay Area. And the context of the reading from Friday was that as it relates to the perfection of concentration, I offered that success during the meditation session is driven by what we do during the meditation break. We spend a lot of time, for most of us, much, much more time during the meditation break than we do during the meditation session. And for us to think that we can sort of live a distracted, unmindful life during the 23 and a half hours of our life, and then being able to sit down during meditation for 30 minutes and be able to focus, have single pointed focus and concentration in meditative equipoise, just not reasonable. It's not reasonable to think that we can do that. So it is incumbent upon us, if we wish to experience more fruit from our meditation practice and have a concentrated, single-pointed focus during our meditation, it's incumbent upon us to do whatever we can to the best of our ability to practice mindfulness during the meditation break. One of the benefits of living a mindful life during the meditation break is, as I say, we will experience and enjoy more fruit from our meditation practice. Another big benefit that Norman Fisher offers is that we will experience fearlessness. We'll experience fearlessness through being mindful. during the meditation break as well as during the meditation session. So going back to when you greet me, I bow, Norman Fisher writes, fear, convincing as it may seem, is actually a conceptual mistake. Fear is a conceptual mistake. It's a mistake made up by the conceptual thinking mind. What is there to be afraid of anyway? Fear is always future-based. Fear is always future-based. We fear what might happen later. The past is gone, so there's no point in being afraid of it. If past traumas cause fear in us, it is only because we fear that the traumatic event will reoccur. We're kind of familiar with this, perhaps with physical illness. Perhaps we've had very serious, perhaps even life-threatening illnesses, and the trauma associated with those illnesses is fear that it might come back. That's what trauma is, wounding caused by a past event that makes us chronically fearful about the future and therefore queasy in the present. But the future doesn't exist now. In the present, this is a really important line, but the future doesn't exist now. In the present, the present is the only moment in which we are ever alive. The only moment in which we are ever alive is the present moment. So, during the meditation break, what if we applied ourselves to being present in the now, in the present moment? Doing so will bring us the gift of fearlessness. We might find the present moment unpleasant for sure, but it's a life situation that we will be able to deal with, and we will have a balanced perspective. We can address challenging moments, even moments that we find undesirable in the present moment, without doing so from a place of fear. We can still be alive in the present moment and address difficulties, situations that we find undesirable, free of the delusion of fear. How do we do that? How do we bring ourselves to be present in the moment as much as we possibly can during our waking life, our waking life during the meditation break? 3 techniques that we've talked about previously. One is as you walk, sort of like walking practice, not necessarily a formal walking meditation, but just as you're walking around your house or walking around your workplace, just bring your awareness to the soles of your feet, making contact with the ground underneath you. Those of you who are hikers, great opportunity to do that practice, that walking meditation practice. Just bring your awareness, again, silently observe the soles of your feet making contact with the earth or the ground or the carpet if you're walking in your house, or the wood floor or whatever it might be. Silently observe that contact. Another method, one of the most classics, is bringing your awareness to your breath, of course. Perhaps bringing your awareness to the sensation of air moving across the tips of your nostrils as you inhale. It might be cooler air entering and warmer, more moist air leaving as you exhale. That's one method for bringing your awareness to the breath and thus being present in the moment. The rise and fall of your body, your belly expanding, different methods related to the breath. And of course, the one that you may be most familiar with is observing sensations within the inner body during the meditation break. Great time to do this is when you're waiting in line somewhere, when you're maybe, how about not waiting in line? Because that suggests that we are anticipating something that will happen in the future. Why don't we just call it standing in line, being in line? Yeah. Bring your awareness then and there to the sensations in your inner body. And that brings you necessarily into the now, into the present moment, the only time, according to Norman Fisher, that we're truly alive. And thus, we're abiding in a state of complete fearlessness. Amazing, amazing benefits. So beautiful. So, I know that there are a lot of other things you could be doing this morning than meditating and contemplating Dharma. I'm glad that you're here now. I'm glad you chose to be here this morning, and I prostrate to your wisdom and your effort. Thank you, and have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeff. Much love.
Thank you all.
See you Friday.
Yes, Peggy.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye. And you, my dear.
Yep.